Now going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Christie's GOP debate, November 8th, top video highlights, but with no video. If you do have suggestions for picture-in-picture software, I really appreciate it because, again, I've tried a couple, but keep having issues and looking for something to do production picture-in-picture that could seamlessly integrate into the show. So if you have suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Even harsh critique and feedback is appreciated because I always say that's how I grow the most. And it's not 100% known. But if you click the subscribe button, it may help with my stuttering and increase my enunciation. This is not a guarantee in life, nothing really is, but I think it could help, perhaps. Click the button and let's find out together. Now, the first highlight coming from Christie, and he was part of the GOP debate. You could not miss him. The cameras did have to zoom out a little bit to make sure you can get the whole Christie. Now, the first clip comes from him saying, "It's a gift to be an American. You can't truly say you love America unless you're ready to open up your heart to every American. I'm going to open up my heart to every American as president, and I'll return honesty and integrity to the Oval Office. We deserve and should accept nothing less." Again, this is directly from his Twitter account, or as 12 people call it, X account. And for him, it went pretty good. It got 109,000 views, which again, Christie, given his average view rate or number of views when he does tweet, that's pretty respectable for him. Although it did only get 1,900 likes. And thankfully, it's only about 1 minute and 2 seconds long. And thankfully for you, you don't have to see him. And oddly enough, the camera lens did not crack. There's a phenomenon where sometimes when the image is so abhorrent, there's a rumor that sometimes it could break a lens. In this case, unless they have multiple lenses on top of each other, I don't see the camera lens breaking in this instance. Although maybe it does halfway through. Let's find out.
It's a gift to be an American. And I'm running for president of the United States because I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing the division. I'm tired of seeing the anger. And I can see in the eyes of Americans their exhaustion. Their exhaustion from the petty, personal politics that have taken over this country over the last number of years. I'm running for president to be a president of consequence, to do the big things, to make sure that America's role in the world stays number one, that we stand up for our friends and allies around the world, and we stand up for what we believe in right here at home. And it's not to eliminate our differences. Our differences has always been our strength as a country, not our weakness. But you can't truly say you love America unless you're ready to open up your heart to every American. I'm going to open up my heart to every American as president, and I will make sure that I return honesty, integrity to the Oval Office. We deserve and should accept nothing less. Governor, it's a gift.
Now, I apologize. I thought I made a mistake. I said this was from the RNC debate, the GOP debate, for the Republican nominee. But that sounded very reminiscent of a Democratic talking points. But I did do some fact checking. I do see the little elephant in the background, which again, an elephant and a donkey are the party mascots of the United States. I mean, could we have thought of something better for marketing? I know there's probably deep history. Nevertheless, another topic for another time. So, interesting. I mean, he's kind of, I don't know if he's intentionally leaning into the memes of his weight, which a lot of people critique him on that, which you could debate if that's a discipline thing, which some say might be indicative or reflective of his work ethic. There are some people who theorize that. I know a lot of fitness, or a lot of executives, and I know a lot of people who are big into fitness because they think in order to perform at the best at work, you need to be sharp both mentally and physically. So hit the gym every day, read every day. And I'm of the thought that that works for me. So that's one of the ways I could work. I always tell people 105 hours a week can't be beat. Get up in the morning, hit the gym, read a little bit, either business or philosophy book, and then I get to work. And I don't know, to me, I just feel more refreshed and more alert once I can get a workout in. But again, that's just what I found that works best for me throughout the years. And I highly recommend it because exercise is addicting and you feel awesome. As the youth might say. Or I suppose they might say radical. Probably. Maybe. Maybe not. Nevertheless, into the comics section, we have someone by the name of Downtown Fairy saying, quote, "Just go home. You've made enough money," unquote. The person got 18 likes. Mr. K Street said, "Trump," unquote, getting 13 likes. Jerry Watkins says, "I don't agree with everything you say. You did a great job tonight. In a debate where I found myself yelling at the TV, feeling lack of hope for the Republican Party, you offered some hope and common sense. Thank you," unquote. Getting 63 likes. So again, this is why he's not pulling at 0%. He is getting a couple percentage points. Well, specifically a few, 3. But it's not 0. More than most people can say for now. A lot of comments getting between 0 and 3 likes, and they're all saying it's over, drop out. Here's one. Telsardian saying very true, much needed. That's 1 like. Albert says, Mr. Christie, respectfully, quick campaigning. You're going nowhere, getting 1 like. Let's see. Justin's saying, remember when Chris Christie was on Seinfeld? And they have, finally, a little picture of George. It's an infamous Seinfeld episode where Kramer hits a golf ball into a whale, the blowhole, and George actually pulls it out. And this is George, the scene where George is in the cafe. Instead of the ball, it's a little Chris Christie on a lawn chair holding it. Now, I say that because it's one of the most popular responses. It got 14 likes. Mr. Alex Gadd said, quote, this is the first non-I hate Trump statement from his losing political run, unquote. Getting 1 like. Which, that's very true. His niche, or what he's been leaning into most, is never Trumpers, which there are those in the Republican Party. I don't think there's enough of those to win the nominee, but he is getting those, and I think DeSantis is starting to get some of those support, since DeSantis has been slowly starting to directly have more and more confrontational statements about Trump and critiquing Trump, which ironically will inevitably alienate the people who like Trump who might have been thinking of voting for DeSantis. Professor Elwood said, quote, meaningless slogans with a bold campaign strategy, unquote, getting 8 likes. Frank Doyle saying your doctors are going to open up your heart next 5 years, getting 1 like. Y Regal says, why don't you return honesty and integrity to New Jersey? Bridgegate, why would we expect anything different? Unquote, getting 7 likes. A lot of people calling out the discrepancies between Chris Christie saying this and how he's been harshly insulting Trump. So I think that's the #1 theme I've seen in these responses. But he did get, oh, here we go. R.P. Smith said, good closing statements. Got 5 likes. Nora Cruz says, excellent debate, a voice of reason. Please keep going, getting 3 likes. And then a lot of people talking about that bridge. So interesting enough, that, again, it's not his worst tweet. Remember a couple weeks ago, we had an instance where he had 0 positive responses in his tweet, which is almost statistically impossible because supposedly I think he has family members, staff members. They're supposedly running a staff. That means not even one of them took 2 minutes to just say something like, great job, Uncle Chris. I don't know. Like, 0? Really? But nevertheless, let's go on to his second highlight of Chris Christie from the GOP debate. And this is one of the most controversial topics, which I suspect it might hurt Republicans. It's, the spoiler alert, is the abortion topic, because even within the Republican Party, there are different factions, different beliefs on if and when it is ever appropriate, and a lot of people saying it's never. So even within the Republican Party, it's a very divisive issue. Then on a national level, I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the national election, as it's become a states' rights issue. The Supreme Court relegated it back to the states to decide for themselves. So it'll be interesting to see if this plays out on a national level, where nationally that conversation has been had and it's been ruled by the Supreme Court. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know in the comments if you think this is going to be a winning issue for the Republicans or not so much. I mean, they just had the election a couple days ago, and a lot of people are pointing to that specific topic as one of the reasons why they may have lost. Now, granted, they also have a losing track record ever since Ronald McDonald took over, literally losing every single time. I don't fathom how she still has a job, but nevertheless. Chris Christie, before this quick clip, says, quote, to be pro-life for the whole life means that the life of a 16-year-old drug addict on the floor of a county lockup is precious, and we should get treatment for her. Pro-life is not just in the womb, it's the whole life. Which, again, I did a fact check. I thought this was a Republican, the GOP debate for the Republican nominee. And, again, that's a cliche Democrat talking point. I mean, it's true, you should always care about someone. And I would also argue the best way to help people, most efficient way to help people, is through community and religious organizations. They've historically been the most effective ways to do that. I would be fascinated to hear if you could put in the comments a successful government program. That'd be fascinating to hear. I've researched for years. I haven't found one. And let's play this quick 22-second clip.
We're not pro-life for the whole life. To be pro-life for the whole life means that the life of a 16-year-old drug addict on the floor of the county lockup is precious, and we should get treatment for her to restore her life. The 52-year-old who's drug addicted should make sure that any of his children who he's passed that addiction on to are treated well too. Pro-life's not just in the womb, Kirsten, it's for the whole life. We're not pro...
Which I don't know why Twitter has that issue where the video just repeats itself. Some say it's a bug or a feature. I would say it's a bug. But that's just me. Now that clip, for Chris Christie, went pretty well in terms of the number of views. It got 127,000 views, but only 4.6 thousand likes. Now, historically speaking, the odds have always been against Chris in terms of responses being usually viscerally roasting him. And I'm not a gambling man, but if I were, I would say the odds for him getting a lot of positive responses are not so good. But let's dive in and find out. One of the first comments comes from John Ward saying, quote, "You had no value, time to hang up," unquote. You got 12 likes. Now, interesting enough, there's some positivity. Patty Brown says, quote, "You had a good night," unquote, getting 20 likes. A Green says, quote, "Man, I like you, but you'd realize you're in the Republican primary, right? You're talking to the wrong audience if you want to win," unquote. That got 12 likes, that being one of the most popular responses. And, of course, his weight comes into the equation. Roger Bird says, quote, "I 100% agree. That is why I keep telling you that you can easily lose weight on the carnivore diet and intense exercising and fasting," unquote, getting 1 like. And he did use all caps for easily. Scott Galletti says, quote, "Food is an addiction too, Chris," unquote, getting 6 likes. Jacob Goldberg says, quote, "The elephant in the room," unquote, getting 4 likes. Mike Wolziski says, quote, "Pro-life for the whole life should include healthcare and reasonable gun laws," getting 40 likes. And when he says reasonable gun laws, I would interpret that as saying you get rid of the gun laws so that the good guys aren't kneecapped while the bad guys roam free and the government roams free. But we know that's not what he means. But again, that's a straight up Democratic comment in the replies. Ridiculous. Obama Kush says, quote, "First time I've ever heard a Republican say that. Too bad your party has become a cult." 18 likes. And perhaps the pot calling the kettle black? I mean, both political parties have become so tribal. I theorize, and I'm not original in this thought, is one of the situations or the ripple effects of the decrease in religious affiliations and religious involvements in the United States. People look for something else to fulfill themselves, and people are trying to ridiculously replace it with politics, which I don't recommend. Now, someone by the name of Mike Downs says, quote, "As a Navy vet, I enjoyed your response on what ships we need to build. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the current capacity to crank out subs faster than we are. If we want to increase our ship count, we need a major commitment to growing domestic shipbuilding and repair," unquote, getting 7 likes. And let's see here. Someone said wise words, but they got 0 likes. New Jersey Sting fan said, "Thanks for the gas tax," getting 1 like. So interestingly enough, he did get a couple positive responses, but they were very much Democratic talking points. Which again, I suspect he'd be a lot more successful running on the Democratic ticket these days. I mean, throughout his careers, we've kind of seen this throughout his career before, where people keep critiquing him for having pretty much all the policies of someone in the Democratic Party, and the people who are agreeing with him are sharing those philosophies more commonly held by people in that party. So I don't know what he's going to do after the GOP, after he doesn't get the nominee, unless, again, there's a huge statistical outlier, pun not really intended, huge, but as of right now, there's just no chance. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. Maybe he does finally switch parties. I mean, he would fit right in. Now on to the third highlight. He says, before the clip, he says, quote, "I'm the only person on the stage who will be honest about this. Social Security was established as a safety net program to make sure that no one would grow old in the country of poverty. Rich people should not be collecting it. And if we want this program, we need to raise the retirement age." Which is ridiculous. If you paid in the program, even if you're rich, you should get paid. They keep saying if you paid in, you should get paid. So yeah, if you're successful and you have copious amounts of, or some people might argue copious amounts of money, I wouldn't. But if you're successful, you should get that money back too. You paid into it. Now, again, this Ponzi scheme, literally Google or Brave search the definition of a Ponzi scheme, that is Social Security. The numbers, it will not last. I mean, it used to be you had over 100 Americans paying per one person on Social Security. I mean, and throughout the years, the ratio's got worse and worse and worse and worse. I believe now it's 3 or 2 person working for every 1 person on Social Security. Like, the ratio won't work. And people are living a lot longer, which is good, but we need to adjust these figures. And I would also argue destroy it, because you know what's best for you and your family. You know how to save. Well, if you went to public school, you probably don't. But nevertheless, it's one of those things where it's one of those cliche, the government knows what's best argument. And they're going to force you to save. Ridiculous. Give the money back to the people. But that's just my 3 cents. Used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation got charged 3 cents. Though, still free to click the subscribe button there. Or there. Or there. I don't know how your phone is oriented. Or, in the rare case, your desktop. Or very rare case, a compact desktop. Or a gateway. I kind of miss that old South Dakota cow company. I'm probably dating myself. The computers would ship in a box with cow spots on it. Nevertheless, not onto the clip.
A lot of programs in this country that we all pay for, that we don't get a direct benefit from. Food stamps is one of them. I've never, fortunately in my life, ever had me or my family on food stamps. But I'm glad it's there so that no one in this country goes to bed hungry at night if they have availability to that program. But I don't get a direct benefit. The fact is, on Social Security, remember why it was established. It was established as a safety net program to make sure that no one would grow old in this country in poverty. That's what we got to get back to. Rich people should not be collecting Social Security.
Governor, can you give me a specific age? 69, 70? What would the age be?
No, look, that's going to be a part of a negotiation with Congress, Kirsten. And hell, I'm not going to start negotiating until I get there. A lot of
yeah, I think the other candidates, actually Nikki Haley did have a good point where she said that it will have to be something where, you know, if you're age 20, like, we need to put a cap on this and a limitation. So everyone who's under 20 years old, you know, this no longer applies to you. But that also would mean that they don't have to pay into it. This is one of the most awkward political things, because everyone with a modicum of business intelligence or financial intelligence knows this program cannot last. It's a Ponzi scheme. But if they're to hint or even whisper that, they're going to lose votes from people who are retired and collecting those benefits. So that's why they're all being very careful with how they're phrasing their responses, and they're all making sure that they know if you're collecting now, you'll keep getting your magical money. Now, that was one of the most popular, most viral moments from Chris Christie. That got 1.1 million views, which is ridiculously good for Chris Christie. And that, well, although the ratio is laughable to say the least, and I know public schools are at all-time low for mathematics. Well, science and history, too. In fact, a 32-year low for the ACT scores. And yet the public teacher unions say they deserve more money. Right. So nevertheless, we'll do some more value here than some public schools. Not all, but some. So it got 5,100 likes. It says 5,100 divided by 1.1 million views. Gives us 0.00463. Now, to turn into a percentage, we're going to multiply that by 100. That means 0.43636 people liked it. Or if we feel so inclined, we can round to 0.46%. That's not so good. Now, again, more often than not, the comments roast him like he roasts his food. Deep fry? Nevertheless, there's a joke in there if you squint hard enough. And let's see what the comments say. Joe DeLiago says, quote, to save Social Security, here's what's needed. 1, have no cap. All wages are subject to 6.2%. 2, make sure employers have to pay them as well. That might curb executive pay when companies have to pay 6.2% on millions. 3, make it legislative proof. Congress can't touch it, unquote. I got 1.6 thousand likes, which is, again, one of the issues. Congress should just take the money out like a piggy bank. Which also goes to show you why are people trusting the government, but nevertheless. Lee Zimmerman says, quote, raising the retirement age, you just lost whoever remaining support you had, Chrissy, unquote. Got 571 likes. Catherine Zoltan says, quote, whoever paid towards Social Security with the promises of collecting it later should be getting what they were promised. Whoever paid into it with the promise of when they would collect should get what they were promised. The fact that there's a gray area for you is a red flag. Red flag. The fact that you represent yourself as honest while suggesting that people should not get what they were promised as years went by and money was withheld from them through their wages is even more disturbing. This is not honesty, it is fraud. And she got 805 likes, which is one of the most popular ones. Scott Womack says, quote, and yet another reason I would never vote for Chris Christie. 403 likes. ESN Watcher says, quote, you've never gone to bed hungry a day in your life, unquote, getting 270 likes. Brandon Let's Go Bridges says, quote, I'm less concerned with rich people collecting it after they paid into it for years than I'm concerned about people who are entering the country and never paying into it, yet they collect it, unquote. 475 likes for that comment. True says, quote, ah yes, New Jersey government experience known for honesty, integrity, and not total corruption, unquote, getting 90 likes. And I appreciate good sarcasm. Let's see here. AKA said, quote, did he make any lame Donald Duck joke again? LMFAO. Person got 79 likes. Dr. Darush says, quote, bad idea to limit Social Security by income level. Everyone that pays the Social Security tax should benefit the program. We don't want this converted to another welfare program, unquote, getting 83 likes. So, interestingly enough, as the youth might say, he was viscerally ratioed. Again. Let's go. Here's one more final highlight of Chris Christie. And thankfully, it's only 11 seconds long. He says, quote, anyone who is... Well, he says, anybody who is going to be spending the next year and a half of their life focused on staying out of jail cannot lead this party, unquote. Got 227,000 views and 4.4 thousand likes.
Say this about Donald Trump. Anybody who's going to be spending the next year and a half of their life focusing on keeping themselves out of jail and courtrooms cannot lead this party or this country, right, and it needs to be said plainly. Governor, thank you.
Let's see here. Ryan Lightler says, quote, he's literally speaking at a rally, unquote, getting 34 likes. Again, reference to Trump being at a rally at the very same time. Nugget for Truth says, quote, love all the likes on this are 99% Democrats, unquote, getting 50 likes. And they did use a clown emoji. Professor Elwood says, advocating for political persecution is a bold campaign strategy, unquote, getting 40 likes. MAGA Girl, who gets B- for marketing. It is a girl, but she does not have a iconic red MAGA hat. What a shame. Now this MAGA Girl says, quote, you will never be president, unquote. All caps on that. Never, getting 20 likes. Someone did a little meme of the Toy Story movie where that Buzz Lightyear saying, there's no signs of intelligence anywhere. And he says, this is so Chris, getting 17 likes. Deborah Green says, quote, from jail, Trump is a better leader than you'd ever be. He is sacrificing himself for Americans. What have you sacrificed, unquote, getting 34 likes. Hell's Right Again says, quote, anybody who is going to be spending the next year and a half a country of their life looking for all-you-can-eat buffets cannot lead the party of their country, unquote, getting 59 likes. Which is an interesting question. When was the last time we had an overweight president? Do you think that matters to the American public? Granted, this is social media. There's going to be more bombastic comments than face-to-face or the real world. But every time Chris Christie has a post on Twitter, or as 12 people call it, X, many people will make direct references to his weight. There's a lot of material to work with, some might say. So let me know, do you think that's an influence in terms of presidential elections? It'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say in that regard. Someone by the name of Totally Not a Bot, which makes me suspicious, but nevertheless, this Mr. Totally Not a Bot says, quote, is it true Ronna McDaniel is just you in drag, unquote? And there's a picture, side-by-side comparison, having Chris Christie on one side and Ronna McDaniel on the other. Ronna McDaniel does have better hair. I'll give her that. That did get 89 likes. And a lot of people in the comments saying they have Trump derangement syndrome. He's at 3% of the polls. Chris Christie, you're a joke. And these are all getting between 0 and 5 likes. A lot of people saying you're a clown. Bridgegate, are you confessing? Are you ducking out? Conservative Voice said, you're simply not sincere, nor are you likable. Just the truth, getting 9 likes. So throughout all the comments, as the youth might say, he was certainly ratioed. And again, he He's consistently polling at about 3% in the poll aggregator, the 538, and I don't suspect it'll go up too much higher. As DeSantis starts to lean into critiquing Trump more and more, he's going to start getting more of those never-Trumpers. So it'll be interesting to see if this does have a positive result on his campaign numbers, but I suspect the outlook will be, for Chris Christie, grammar aside, the outlook will be not so good. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of November, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, any critique, even if it's harsh feedback, is greatly appreciated in the comment section, because that's how I help grow and develop and improve the product for everyone. And I hope it make a great show, have everyone have a good time. Also, lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.